My name is not Karen, but I do want to speak to the manager. What's going on YouTube? Trevor B. West here. I am adding to my video series about how to find and interview your real estate investing team, whether you're in-state or out of state. In my last video, we covered how to interview your investor savvy real estate agent. In this video, we'll cover how to find and interview your property manager. Let's get started. I've learned a lot about property management because I manage my own units. I'm a multifamily investor in Central North Carolina, and having that on-the-job training really sets a solid foundation for what being a good property manager looks like and how to hire out in the future and make sure that I'm matching myself up with the right company. In this video, we're going to talk about 4 things: why it's important to have a property manager, how to find a property manager, what to do right before the call, and of course, conducting the interview. So let's just get started with why is it important to have a property manager that you know, like, and trust. And the first thing that comes to mind is kind of self-explanatory. That team or that company is responsible for protecting your asset, for managing your investment. So of course you want to have somebody who is like-minded, who's going to treat your tenants like customers or long-term customers or repeat customers. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our tenants are coming to the table happy to sign for another 12 months. Choosing a property manager who's like-minded is definitely important. But what's as equally as important is making sure that they're able to handle the small-scale decisions. Many of us get involved in real estate investing because we want it to provide us with more freedom to go and do. And more specifically, some of us use that time to go and travel. But picture this. Say you've got some extra walking around money in your pocket from a profitable long-term rental. You and your significant other decide to use that money to go on a trip. But while you're on that trip, the property manager's calling you to handle those small-scale decisions. Or even worse, your tenant is calling you, telling you that the property manager isn't responding in a timely fashion or they're not responding at all. This happening a few times over the course of a 12-month lease could mean that your tenant is going to find somewhere else to live and defeats the purpose of you working so hard and investing to have that time freedom. All right, so moving on to how to find a property manager in your specific market. Real estate is a people business. I've said it before, I will always say it. You've got to learn how to be a networking machine and then leverage that network. The more people you know will be the more people that can help you solve your specific problem, and vice versa. Real estate is a give and take relationship. So how do you find these people, especially if you're a newer investor? A lot of us start with biggerpockets.com. It's a great way to find your specific city, your specific market, and ask very specific questions. In this case, how to find a good property manager. There you will find investors who are employing your specific niche and will be able to apply a property manager that fits your strategy and which ones to stay away from. And the same thing applies to real estate meetups, whether in person or virtually. Go there, network, rub elbows, and get the information that you need. Also, you can join the local Facebook groups, the real estate investing groups. In there, you can just drop, hey, I'm looking for a good property manager. Can you send your recommendations? And I'm sure you'll get a flood of good property managers that you can use. Or lastly, you can just get on Google, go through the reviews, find which property managers you'd like to interview. You're going to want to get 3 or 4 of these guys just to make sure that we get the right fit. So now that you've found 3 to 4 property managers that you'd like to interview, shoot them an email and have them send you back their company's PMA or property management agreement. This is going to be an outline of all the services that they cover, everything that they handle from tenant evictions to problem tenants to all number of different things that they've experienced. This will give you a good idea of how they handle business prior to you getting on the call. So what to do before the interview, go over that PMA for that specific company. It's going to give you more information on how they operate and make the call more effective. So jumping right into the questions, question 1 is, where do you manage properties? Get this one right out of the gate. That way you know that as you continue the conversation, you're talking about the same area. They could be in a different zip code, they could be in a completely different side of town, or just might not manage properties in your location. So finding that out is step number one. Question number two is, how many units do you manage? This gives you a good idea of how big their company is. I personally like a property manager that's not so small that they haven't seen a number of different things and might not know how to react to them. And I don't like a company that's too big to where their customer relationship dwindles at how large of an area that they cover. Like a property manager that's right in the middle. Someone who's growing fast enough that they are just hitting stride and their momentum is taking them really far and the customer care is really nice. Also, you can ask them how many staff members do they have in comparison to how many units they manage. This will give you a good idea if they are adequately staffed or if they might be spreading themselves too thin. Question number three is, what types of properties do you manage? And this one has two different angles to it. The first angle being, what class types do you manage? A, B, C, D, or F? You might be talking to a property manager who manages the entire spectrum. Or you might be interviewing someone who only manages A and B plus style properties. And if you're looking in C, C plus, this is not going to be a good fit. And the next angle is, what style of properties? Single family, multifamily, condos, do they have a specific niche? If you're an apartment investor, you want to make sure the property manager that you choose has experience managing the properties of that size and of that caliber. And if they used to manage properties of that size and caliber before, but don't anymore, this is a good time to ask why and see if it's still a good fit. Question number four is where you can ask all about their processes. This is where you really get a chance to utilize the PMA, or the property management agreement, that I know you read before you got on the phone with this specific property manager. But all these things are covered in the PMA, but still you want to have a conversation to where you either get the warm and fuzzies or don't get the warm and fuzzies, which is just as important. But here you'll ask questions like, how do you handle tenant screening? How do you handle evictions? How do you handle disruptive tenants? What does leasing and tenant turnover look like? Just having that conversation is going to give you a good idea of how they operate. Also, some investors like to understand what type of software the property management company uses. This is usually the case in larger multifamilies and how they keep themselves organized. But if you're not there yet, use this information, keep it in your toolbox in case you get there, because hopefully you will, and you'll be able to understand how companies keep their operations running smoothly. Question number five is all about the money. Understanding a property management's fee structure is really important, especially when you are evaluating and running the numbers on specific properties. You want to know how much money is coming out of your expenses each month. Some property managers will charge you a flat fee, everything's included. But some property managers will charge a flat fee, plus a leasing fee, plus a tenant turnover fee. So you want to understand what's all involved before you sign a property management agreement with the first property manager that you vibe with. Question number six, and the final question, is communication. If you know me, I want to know how you communicate. Is it by phone? Is it by text? Is it by email? How often are you going to let me know that my property is performing, or something happened, or I have to pay something? What does that communication look like so I know what to be ready for? And also, how often are you going to the property without anyone telling you that you should, or without a tenant calling you that there's a problem? And how often are you going to report that to me? Communication is huge, especially for those of you who like to travel, especially for those of you who are out-of-state investors. Understanding and having that good communication relationship with your property manager is going to be the success or the failure of your property. And the last thing on communication is make sure you find out who your point of contact is, especially if it's a larger company. You want to make sure that it's the same person every time so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that wraps up the questions, but before you let the property managers off the line, let them know what your game plan is. Let them know who you are as an investor, how you like to communicate. This puts them in a position to have more information about you and take care of your investments better. Let them know what your niche is, how many deals you plan on doing that market, because of course they want more business, and let them know that you have a network of investors as well that might use their property management services as long as everything goes well. Everybody wants to have your business. So make sure that you appropriately communicate to them who you are, what you do, and what your plans are for the future. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I hope you got something from it. Again, I love making these videos. There's more content to come, and the next video that I'm gonna be making is how to find and interview your real estate investing contractor. So comment below if you have any questions, if you wanna chat, but please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.